Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show. This is episode number 80. The show is available live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. A.C.E Podcast Nation also your home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please give us a follow on social media for information on upcoming shows and guests, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel. Best way to support us. And you can get the audio versions at all the usual podcast and radio platforms. And just as we wait for the various platforms live chats to fill up, a big thank you to, of course, Black Diamond Sports for all their support around both the Monday and the Friday show. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages and their brand new website. The links to which are all in the description. They seem to be announcing new deals and expansions weekly. Very exciting time for them. So give them a follow on social media. Check them out. And of course, as usual, the Andy Campbell Football Show, sponsored by Bespoke Financial. And here is a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and, of course, sports cover. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. So, onwards and upwards, introducing first my co-host, the hostess with the mostess, the fox in the box, still the king of the Millennium Stadium, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, and David Jones' favourite son, Mr. Andy Campbell. How goes it, my friend? You thought I was going to leave it out then, didn't you?
I didn't mean to be fair.
Change the order up. Alright, buddy.
Yeah, well excited for this. More of a fan than anything, and I'll explain that later on when we delve into Dimi's successful career. But no, I'm really excited for this because I know him personally, but I'm really looking forward to it.
And I'm just excited to have a goalkeeper on. So tonight's guest, he started his career at Kalamata in Greece before playing for several top clubs in the UK and Europe, including Middlesbrough, Coventry, Swansea, AEK Athens, and of course the mighty Bluebirds, standing at a whopping 6'7", Greek international, Dimi Konstantopoulos. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to be here.
Don't forget Hartlepool United side, you know what I mean? It's a big part.
I can't name them all, but of course Hartlepool, as well as there's a few others in there as well. But like I could be there, naming them all. The one that mattered, obviously, Cardiff City. That's could have just said that ex-Cardiff goalkeeper, and then that would have been it. But
Dave Jones as well.
Dave Jones, yeah. What's Dave Jones like, Dimi?
It wasn't bad,
One word answer, Dimi. What was Dave Jones like? One word answer.
Overly relaxed, I think, in general.
That translates as he didn't give. No, look, Dave Jones did a pretty good job for Cardiff for like a little period, but it'll always be, his time will always be blackened in my eyes for the way he treated Campbell.
Listen, I've always and honestly openly said he did a fantastic job for Cardiff City, but for me personally, and Dimi will agree with me, you know what I mean, on certain managers you don't see eye to eye, unfortunately, you know what I mean, you both got your own ideas of where you're
I didn't see eye to eye with him either, don't worry about it.
I think eye to eye for me, Dimi, was an understatement. I'll be honest. We hated each other with a passion. Yeah.
So was the only people who got on with Dave Jones was like Jay Bothroyd and Michael Chopra then, was it, by the sounds of it?
Basically, yeah. Chops and buttons, yeah.
But so we'll get to the questions in the live chat, of course, in a minute. But before we do that, Dimi, what we like to do is something called the Magnificent Seven. And that's 7 quickfire questions where we put you on the spot and you just say the first thing that comes to mind as we answer them. They're all a bit varied. And let's have a go at that then. Magnificent Seven, Dimi Konstantopoulos. Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo for me. Bigger, more complete athlete, I would say.
Yeah,
I like that. We get it mixed. We get a good mixture though, don't we, Sam?
Yeah, ask that question every week because it's always interesting. Favorite TV show?
Friends, 100%.
Oof. Never had that one either.
Massive fan.
Angriest teammate?
A few. I want to say probably I give it a Grant Lebedev.
Yeah, to be fair, he's an angry man as well. Angry man when things didn't go right.
Favorite manager to play for?
It's a good question, that.
I have to give it to Aito. Obviously, because the way we were doing, how things were going, everything was everyone was in harmony with each other. Everything was good inside the club, and it was a lot of respect within the club for him and between us as players.
And it is a fantastic answer, mate. And the least favourite manager to play for?
There's a few. He was actually a guy you don't probably know. He's a Greek guy. Early in my career, who I went on loan to this club in Athens, and we actually got promoted. But this guy was the only way I can describe him was a weirdo. I had longish hair back then. He was obviously he had no hair like Andy, and he had an issue with that. He had an issue with that. He didn't like my hair, so he was always trying to patronize me about it and say stuff. And we nearly, threw punches at each other in one training session.
Wow.
Sounds like a right character, that.
Yeah. What was his name?
Yorgos Hatzaras. He actually trained Aris FC in the Premier League in Greece for a spell. But now he's disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't surprise me.
Wow. And last couple, Cardiff or Swansea?
Swansea for me.
Full question.
I had a better time there. The team was.
Love the honesty.
Yeah, the togetherness was better over there, and I think the manager was better, Martinez. So yeah, Cardiff wasn't so enjoyable.
Was Graham Jones there with you, Dimi?
Yeah, he was assistant.
Yeah, we had Graham on the show
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. So we obviously delved quite a lot into about Swansea because obviously with obviously being an ex-Cardiff City player, we do get a little bit stick by Swansea fans thinking people are anti-Swansea, but it's not the case. We've tried to bridge that gap, but so I'm glad that we've got you on and you're being honest there, because it's a good.
No, I can only go from my experience. Both clubs are really great clubs, But everyone, when you have to choose between two places, you go by what you experienced.
Of course, yeah. And at the end of the day, like, the easy answer is for you to just go Cardiff. But, like, it's not an honest answer. Like, I'd rather...
I like it.
Yeah, I can respect that. And then, I don't like it, but I can respect it. I respect the honesty, and that's the main thing. And finally, the greatest Greek man who's ever lived.
Oh, what a question!
There's so many to choose from when you think of it.
Apart from you, Dimi, you can't name yourself.
There is, yeah. The greatest of all time as well. Is that the question? Greatest of all time?
Yeah, greatest. It doesn't have to be football related, just greatest Greek man of all time.
Plato?
You go.
Perfect answer.
Getting some pelters in the live chat from all the Cardiff fans, but all in good faith anyway.
Sorry, Si, can I just jump in?
Go on.
I just want to follow on something you said there, Dimi, about Iso. You said about being your favourite manager. So, in terms of being a goalkeeper and the way that he set up and how rigorous he was keeping clean sheets and wanting to defend, does that help you even more being a goalkeeper?
Yes. See, it wasn't a case of our instructions were get out and try to keep a clean sheet. It wasn't. He wanted to play football and score goals. I never once heard him saying we have to keep a clean sheet. But his organisation through training and how we prepared for games and the attention to detail made it hard for us to get beat. And obviously, combination with the fact that we had good players and everyone worked for each other. It wasn't. I know there's been articles and stuff about our defense and about me and about the defenders, but it was a collective thing. The amount of work strikers were putting in, or the midfield were putting in, helping to keeping those clean sheets was tremendous, and it was genuinely teamwork. It was never a defensive setup, if you want to call it that way. It was always a team to play football, but very, very well organised.
Yeah, it's obviously we're going to jump into that. I just wanted to know about that and about the structure is obviously important because I read an article from Neil Etheridge last week about the same thing that he likes the way that he structures. That they're hard to beat, hard to break down, but obviously, like you say, he's still got the expansive attacking football that wants to score goals, but he feels a little bit more protected than he was at Cardiff City.
Yeah, of course.
Which obviously fills you full of confidence, doesn't it, straight away?
Yeah, exactly. When you have an organised defence and defensive function that everyone at any point knows what to do when we don't have the ball, that makes it easier for a goalkeeper. And maybe you have to work less times than you would normally, but sometimes that makes it more difficult because as a keeper, it's easy to be in the action all the time because you keep ball. Or when you have only 2-3 times in a game to act, sometimes it makes it harder mentally.
Yeah, it's interesting that though because Si, we obviously spoke to Graham Jones, didn't we, about a similar thing about the coaches, modern day coaches don't focus on defending as much as they should, and that's why we're letting a lot of goals in the Premier League and the Championship. There's a lot more goals being scored. So forget about all these good players what are playing. Defensively, mistakes are not working on things enough. So. During your time, Dimi, how important was working on a structure and a formation and gameplay, basically?
With Ito?
Just with anybody. How important was it for you as a goalkeeper?
I think it's vital. I think for me, you have to know, if you want to be successful as a team, you need to have a pattern of play, identify pattern of play which plays to the team's strengths. You can't have players that they... want to play football or they're good technically and try to lob balls all the time. It's not going to work. So you have to identify a structure of play that it's according to the strengths of the team. And obviously, defensively, you have to have the same. Everyone should know what to do while not in possession. I think if you get those two things right, then you add some quality. I think that's what makes successful teams.
I totally agree. This is already exhilarating, so this is going to be a superb show. Looking forward to it. Si, should we go to any other business before
indeed.
Move on?
So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll start with the internationals because the other subject is a bit bigger, and I kind of do want to delve into it. So we'll start with Greece. Dimi, they beat Moldova 2-0 over the last couple of days. Top of the group, and I'm not familiar with the Greek national team whatsoever. So I was hoping you could tell me why they're doing so well, some of the standout players, and also kind of some of the younger players coming through for Greece who we should keep an eye out for.
Yeah, they've been up and down really. They're far from the side that 2004, and for a few years after that they were doing really well. Relying a lot of younger players. They're good players. There's some good players in there with great potential. Just what's lacking is that for me is that the characters that that national team had back then obviously led them to winning the Euro, and after that qualifications in the World Cups and in every Euro really. So yeah, I think it's a restructure some form. The manager is good, I think, for this thing, to restructure the team, and hopefully those players that they're young now, in the years to come, they'll turn into strong personalities and when gel together, and maybe try to bring the team back up where it was a few years back.
How important to me is sorry, Si. How important to me is it to have these standout players, though? You know what I mean. You mentioned there about 2004. You know what I mean. The World Cups and having these big groups and big and standout players. You know, you've got the Karagounis's, the Karasteias, Zagarakis. These kind of players are standout players, and the worldwide players. You know, people recognise them worldwide for playing for good sides in the country. But how important is it to have those players inside the group to help the younger players through?
It's massively important. These players are like sort of flags, national flags for each national team, and they set the example. And if we think that a national team as a group don't have the chance to train together a lot or to work together a lot, so it's a short amount of time that they can do things and prepare things. Having players like that with that stature and that personality makes players bond easier, get the respect easier, and work for each other harder. And obviously, that's outside the pitch. And in the pitch, they can pick players up in certain situations and maybe affect results like that.
Are the heroes? Are they all heroes, Dimi? The 2004 lot. You know what I mean? Because I've always said, you know what I mean, as an Englishman, I would love to see my country winning a Euros or winning a World Cup in my generation. Hopefully, one day I get the opportunity to watch it as a fan. But how are the 2004 group put in the limelight within their home country?
Yeah, they'll always be heroes. They're massively Chris, all of them. They're all my friends, and they were lucky. Not lucky. They deserve to be in that team.
Yeah.
And they did really well by pretty much grinding results and through being the underdog in every game they played, and that's what made it even bigger, that success. And they'll always will be, and obviously it's credit to them, and they very well deserved.
We'll come to some questions from the live chat a bit later, but I wanted to get this one in because it kind of comes in with the international talk. Rob Boyle asks, how good can Tsimikas? How good can he be?
He's a very good left back. He's done tremendously well with Olympiacos, and he's been a stand-up player, and I think doing really well against Arsenal in the Champions League games. Helped him obviously advertise himself and get him moved to Liverpool. I think he can be really good. He's definitely fits, and I can see why Jurgen Klopp got him to Liverpool, because he fits with how Liverpool want to play. He's a player who can run all day on the left side and put crosses in. So yeah, obviously he needs to bide his time, because he's got Robertson in front of him, who's one of the best left backs in the world at the minute. But yeah, he's a great asset for Liverpool. I think he's a great piece of business.
It's also important, Si, isn't it? You know what I mean, to have somebody like that playing in a country and a club like Liverpool, because it gives the other Greek players and the younger players somebody to look up to. You know what I mean, a role model to try and emulate. You know, I look at the young England players playing in in Germany for Borussia Dortmund and things, and some of the younger players now trying to play abroad and in different countries. And for me, I think it's something to aspire to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where those young players all want to be, is at the biggest clubs in Europe, mate, at the end of the day, isn't it?
Instead of playing under 23 football, which for me is
a waste of
time and a waste of effort.
Speaking of waste of time, Dimi, I wanted to get your opinion on these early season friendlies, which disrupts the season, like 4 or 5 games in, and the Nations League generally, but like mainly this kind of what do players feel like these international friendlies? Are they a hindrance? Are they happy to get away? Somewhere in the middle.
I think it's two sides of this coin. Obviously, it's one that, as you said, disrupts the flow of the league and maybe creates some problems for the clubs. But then on the other side, the national teams might need that because the managers won't have any other chance to see players or check players or be able to have the best squad for competitions later on. I think actually players don't mind that. Certainly the ones who don't get called up because they have 2 weeks off. But
yeah.
I think it's one of those, Dimi, isn't it? That as a goalkeeper, if you just kept a clean sheet on Saturday, you want to go and play the following week. You don't want to wait 2 weeks and have a couple of weeks off. If you just lost, you want to get back on the horse, so to speak, and just play more football. But if you're playing regular for your country and you're getting called up, you want to go and represent your country. So I can see it from both points of view. But for me personally, it's the timing of things. You know what I mean? Do we need it after 5 games? Can we not leave it towards later on in the year, or you know what I mean? Especially Nations League for me, World Cup qualifiers, Euro qualifiers, top friendlies to go to Brazil or Argentina or Germany or go to Dubai or Qatar and go and play a game in the atmosphere that you're going to play a World Cup World Cup game in Qatar, for example. And that's what for me it should use this time for.
I agree. It has to be a measure. Because, as I said, it might end up costing the clubs in the end because they could pick up injuries or disrupt a team winning 3-4 games in a row. All of a sudden, this break comes and sort of breaks the flow of the team. So yeah, it has to be a measure to this and timing, as you said.
Well, as you say that, Dimi, it just and this isn't set up, by the way, it just goes in perfect to, you said there about people getting injured. We had a Welsh player getting injured against England, who keeper
cost Cardiff.
You know what I mean? So it could cost Cardiff City a £3 million player going forward. We had Harry Kane getting injured in training. Obviously, didn't play yesterday, but came on as sub. And for me, the clubs must be thinking, what are you playing him for? I look at the England game yesterday that Harry Kane's not playing because he's injured, but then they can bring him on as sub. I just think, look after the player, look after the club, because the clubs are paying the wages, the fans want the players to play for their clubs, and Harry Kane's such an important player for club and country, but it is just a friendly.
What do you think Jose makes of that, mate? Off the back of beating United 6-1, Harry Kane's banging form with that guy, I've forgotten his name, I can't remember his name. The other Spurs striker who's scores for fun. They're banging form. Harry Kane's coming back to full fitness from a long-term injury. Jose's got Spurs doing, playing well, and then all of a sudden you've got him picking up an injury, and then instead of just giving him a rest, they bring him on as a separate. I didn't think they needed to do that. They got enough depth. It's not like a do or die game where they've got to win. I didn't feel the need to risk him. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how serious the injury was, but for me, if he's got any sort of injury, which was meaning he wasn't starting, then he shouldn't have played. To protect the clubs and protect him he's got a full season to play, and he's coming off a long-term injury as well. Would you agree with that, and as an Englishman?
I wouldn't have risked him. I don't see the point in putting him at risk. We've got another game coming up on. Is there another game this week?
Yeah, Friday.
Spurs have got another game. I just don't see what the benefit is for both club and country, especially the injury that he had before lockdown as well. That he was out for quite a long time, and he's only just came back. So for me, look after the player, have him in and around the group, let him be the captain off the pitch, let him help the younger players through, because that's what they're for. Let Calvert-Lewin play another full 90 minutes with a different set of players to see if he can handle it for me, and that would have been perfect.
Well, the thing is, they've got the likes of Sancho, they got Danny Ings, who deserved to play on club form. Like, why not give him half out? Like, Kane come on with 66 minutes gone. Why wouldn't you give that time to Danny Ings? He deserves that because of his club form.
Totally agree.
So I don't know. We're on England, so we'll stick with him. Like, what? How much do you use that as a barometer? And that they beat Belgium, one of the top sides in Europe. Are you getting really excited? Like England are going to win the Euros in the summer, or are you? Doesn't matter.
And I know we've got a few comments in the group chat, and Leslie just put something in there about saying it's a competitive game. It's not a competitive game. It's a friendly. It's a Nations League, but it's still a friendly. The only competitive football you play are Euros and World Cup qualifiers and World Cup games in the World Cup in the summer. It was a friendly. That you look at the teams they put out. You look at the substitution. What are made. It is a friendly competition. You know what I mean? Yes, there might be something at the end of it, but for me, it's still a friendly, and I'm not getting excited. It wins. I want to win. I want to watch goals. I want to see entertainment. But it's just another progression, another game, and it's another game against a decent side, which you can. But listen, last time we played Belgium in a World Cup or Euros, we got beat anyway. So there's my judge.
Dimi, what's your opinion of Romelu Lukaku? Obviously, he had a tough time at United, but still scored. His goals to game ratio was very good. He scored for fun for Everton. He's banging them in for Inter Milan. Scores at international level. He seems like a top player who perhaps wasn't being used properly by Manchester United.
I like him. I always liked him as a player. He's got a bit of everything really. And, he's strong. He's fast. He's got a great left foot. He can head it, but then it shows that the right environment sometimes doesn't bring out the best in the player. That's an example. For example, De Bruyne at Chelsea and De Bruyne at Man City.
Yeah.
When he left Chelsea, everyone was saying, "Oh, what a waste of money!" or "What a good bargain to sell him." Did he go back to Germany to Dortmund? I think did he? And then went to Man City, and now he's the best midfielder in the world. That shows that. He has to be the mix of, obviously, the quality of the player and the right environment for the player. And sometimes if you don't get that right, you miss on some great potential of a certain player. And that happened, I think, with Lukaku.
Yeah, 100%.
I totally agree, because I look at Lukaku when he came through at Chelsea, when he went on loan to West Brom, when he went to Everton. I just thought he was just at another level, and then he goes to Man United, biggest club in the world, doesn't work out for him, wherever it may be, and then all of a sudden, he goes to Inter Milan, and he can't stop scoring, and he's playing in European finals, and it's great for him personally, and he's playing for the most informed side country with the best players, the Hazards, the De Bruyne's, like Dimi's just said. So it's a perfect opportunity.
Can I just say something on that? What you did there? When I was playing at Cardiff, and that was a great experience for me, and a great moment. I remember playing a home game at the old ground at Cardiff, and one of my first games, my very first home game, and we're winning, and for about 20 minutes, the fans are shouting for me to do that, but I didn't know what it was. No one's ever listened to me. And for 20 minutes, I could hear my name, but I didn't know what they were saying. Mm-hmm. So at the end, there was one of the lads at the bench who shouted me, "Dimi, do this." So I did this, and the whole crowd went down.
No, that was obviously. Who was the chairman, Dimi? Was it Peter Ridsdale when you were there?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, when I signed there, Sam Aman and we had to do it. We had to do it religiously all of the time, and it was, the fans absolutely loved it. They were so passionate, and it was just to give something back, isn't it, to the supporters, and they absolutely loved it, adored it. It was really good. Yeah. But then speaking about Wales side, so obviously,
I was going to say that.
We'll throw it back at you. So tell me tell me your thoughts on the England game first, because obviously that was a friendly. Team was obviously different to what they played during the week as well. So tell me about the England game.
For me, like I said to you on Friday, I have watched the extended highlights now. It mattered so little to me, even though it was against England, that I didn't even know it was on until you text me a couple of minutes before kickoff and said about it. However, what I will say is I'm very, very happy with these young players who Wales have got. Like their starting lineup in both games, so young. They did have Ramsey in the second game, but they just got a knack of not losing at the moment. I know they lost to England, but even with an understrength side against Ireland, yes, it wasn't a great game, but these young players are getting used to defending well and keeping clean sheets. We are very reliant on a bit of magic from a Bale or a Ramsey or a Daniel James or someone like this. Yeah, that's going to come with these young players. You're looking over the next couple of years for them to really show what they can do offensively. That's the one thing I think we are lacking. But in terms of performances, defensively good, offensively not good at the moment. Not good, but just not quite what they're capable of. But the future for Wales, mate, is very bright. If even 50% of those players live up to their potential, Wales will be one of the top sides in Europe, in my opinion.
What about the stick Ampadu got? Did you hear of the stick that he got? There was two
I didn't know, so if you fill me in, I'll give you an opinion.
So there was an alleged penalty. What Randolph? He came out to punch the ball, and Ampadu went down holding his head, and I think Roy Keane was giving him a bit of stick, and James McLean got sent off for his second yellow card on a tackle on Ampadu, in which he didn't touch him.
I don't like to see it, mate. Like, whether he's Welsh or English or anything, like, I'll give an honest opinion, and I don't like seeing that because, one, you know what I'm like when it comes to head injuries. I think that football is so far behind in the way they treat head injuries. It's only over the last few years where they've started treating concussions properly, whereby it's down to the doctor, not the player, if whether they can come back on and stuff like that, and all the bits after that, the aftercare. So to see players going down holding their head if they haven't been, if they haven't been hit in the head, that is not something I like to see because, it is what it is. Whatever nationality they are, even if it's my fellow Welshman. And I haven't seen it, like, I got to be honest, so I'm going on just what you've said there. But also, I will also say that Ethan Ampadu, again, if he lives up to his potential, he'll be one of the best players in Europe in five years. He's outstanding. And we'll touch on Scotland, mate, as well. Unbeaten in 2020. Ultimately, what does that mean?
Dimi? How important is it for a player to be involved at any level, international club level, and being unbeaten for that length of time? Does it fill teams, fans, players, coaching staff with confidence?
Yeah, of course. I think obviously being unbeaten and doing well with the national team, that sort of reignites the interest of the country that you represent towards the national team, and that's only a good thing. And players live of that confidence when you have the backing of your fellow countrymen. Well, it's the best thing. It's obviously when you have crowds on the ground as well. Yeah. But doing well for Scotland is a great thing for the whole country, I think, and it unites people in a way.
I totally agree. I couldn't have put it better myself, and I think it's important for them because if inside, listen, if it gives them an easier group going forward for the next World Cup, next European Championships.
That's the main thing for me.
You know what I mean, and that's the key.
One thing I will say is it will do. Yeah, there we go. It won't do the confidence of the side, and they've got some great young players, mind as well. Scotland have in that side in the under-21s. That being unbeaten for a whole year will do them the world of good as a group. and as a team. So, from that point of view, that's fantastic. And then our second bit of kind of any other business is two big ones really today. Project Big Picture. Liverpool and Man United have led proposals for football reforms dubbed Project Big Picture, which would ultimately see the Premier League reduced to 18 teams. A lot of money distributed down to the EFL. Some people are not happy. So I'll just give you a quick quote from the EFL chairman, Rick Parry. He said, "The government have been making a lot of noise about the need to sort out football. Maybe they should read the plan before they comment. They haven't actually done very much other than urging Premier League teams to take action. There are a lot of vested interests. It's not going to please everyone." So he is on the side of it. The government said, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they're very disappointed. In a time of crisis, we've urged the top tiers of football to come together and finalise a deal to help lower league clubs, but there appears to have been a backroom deal that's been cooked up that would create a closed shop at the very top of the game. Andy, what was your initial thoughts when you first saw this?
It's just not fair. I just think, that some teams have worked really hard to get in the Premier League, and then all of a sudden they're going to have to relegate more teams to create a smaller league. Are these 6 super clubs trying to break away themselves and trying to form this as a first part of a breakaway? We spoke earlier before we came on about that, about this top 6. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Spurs. I just don't get it, because I look at Leicester City, for example. I look at Everton. Leicester have won the Premier League not so many years ago. Everton are doing really well currently, and I just don't see it as a fair way to move forward. And I just think the Premier League's unique because of the players that we attract. If you start being a top 6, then will the attraction be the attraction anymore? Because it won't be a financial attraction, because 25% of your money is going to be going elsewhere. You know what I mean? So what will be the carrot to get to the Premier League anymore, unless they make the money even more?
One thing I do like about it was one of the things I picked up, which I quite like it as a change, was having 2 teams go up automatically. And then, so in the Championship, it would be the team which finishes 3rd, 4th and 5th in a playoff with the team which finishes 3rd from bottom in the Premier League. I do like that idea because it gives those teams at the bottom of the Premier League, it's like a second chance saloon to just try and get out of it. And I do like that. I think that could be good. It can add a bit of drama. It can do that. But as I said to you and Dimi just before we came on air, one thing which people don't seem to be focusing on is the fact that those top 6 clubs will have so much power that they can basically veto any potential new rules, anything like any changes to organisations and stuff like that. I think that seems to have gone under the radar a bit, and I don't believe that any one club or any 6 clubs should be able to do that. Anything which changes the fundamental basics of the organisation, the EFL, Premier League, the game in the UK, every club has got to be on board for it to work. So I wasn't very happy with that.
They did used to do that kind of format though, Si. I know my dad's in the group chat. My dad will correct me if I'm wrong, but Middlesbrough got promoted one year by beating Bradford City in the semi-final over 2 legs, and then they played Chelsea in the final. Chelsea were a Division 1 team, we were a Division 2 team, so Premier League Championship, and we beat them over 2 legs, second leg at Stamford Bridge, and ended up getting promoted to Division 1, which is Premier League now. So I do like that kind of format, but I just don't think it's fair on teams who are trying to get there already. What do you think, Dimi? What's your thoughts on it?
I don't know how fair it's going to be for the Championship teams, because if you're playing, obviously the gap right now, the money that the Premier League teams have to spend and the players that can attract every year, it's obviously much bigger than the Championship. And having a playoff between a bottom Premier League team and the 3rd, 4th, 6th Championship team, I think it's a mismatch in quality. Obviously, it's 2 games and anything can happen. but then you're starting with very bad odds for the championship team, and it's like a false carrot. I think they tried to do similar things in Greece, and over the last few years, they've changed the rules. They've done it 16 teams, then 18. Then I think if you go down that, then it starts becoming a habit and changing it often, and sort of people get confused, and it loses that harmony that right now we have. That this is what happens. This is what your goal is. That's what you have to do. If you
is it broke, Dimi? Is it broke? Are we broken? We're not. So why fix it? Why fix something which is not broken for me?
However, they do, like, as part of this manifesto, if you want to call it that, part of the thing they are saying, or the people who are promoting it are saying, is that it's about getting rid of the parachute payments down to the championship clubs and trying to give the EFL clubs more money to bridge the financial gap between the EFL and the Premier League. Now, whether I believe that is another thing, but that's what they're kind of selling it as. Look, it's a fact that with COVID and everything, the lower league clubs are struggling with no fans in the grounds. We have to find a way as a football, as a game, to make sure that no more clubs go bust. Do I think this is the answer? No.
For me, this is, they can make a package, a rescue package to be spread to the lower league clubs, the ones by priority, the ones that need help. I don't think there's a need to apply new regulations and changes to do that. And as for the parachute payments, I think a club getting promoted to the Premier League gets so much money from obviously being in that league that it can, with good handling, it can last for a long time. Do you know what I mean? Unless they go stupid with it. So
I totally agree. The thing is, Dimi, I totally agree, because it's the same thing, Si. You know what I mean? If you're giving money per month, for example, and you're giving money regular for a year, you're going to put that money on your budget. You're going to spend it. Where they don't need to do that. For me, it's all about. There you go. See, told you, my dad knows me stuff. Dimi's right. I mean, rescue packages are the way forward. Rescue packages. Teams who are in distress, teams who are struggling, teams who need rescuing. They need that money to sustain and finish the season. There you go. That's how much do you need? There's a pot of money here. There's X amount of money to get you through the rest of the season.
And considering the amount of money that now is in the Premier League, which is the biggest, most lucrative league in the world, it's only going to be a small percentage that those clubs in the lower divisions will need to stabilise back again. I don't think it's going to be a massive hit for the Premier League clubs or the FA. If it's done properly and revised and the correct homework, it can be done, and everyone can be a winner from that.
I like that. That's a much better idea.
What about the EFL Cup and the Community Shield being scrapped as part of it?
You can't. What's the point of getting rid of it? Listen, Si, I'm not a big advocate of the EFL Cup at the minute.
Add the Scottish clubs to it.
Well, for me, you've got to make it more interesting, more relevant, better for fans. But if clubs have to take these things serious as well, that if teams aren't going to put the best sides out and they don't want to commit to it, then let somebody else. But I guarantee you, if you put a Champions League place or a Europa League place at the end as a carrot for these cups, teams will put the best side out.
Spot on, mate. If you make them important, if you make them matter, clubs will treat them seriously.
And I'll go back to the Welsh Cup years ago. The Welsh Cup years ago that had a Cup Winners' Cup place at the end of it, and the Welsh clubs took it seriously. Now the Welsh clubs, the Welsh Cup doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to anybody.
Indeed. Gavin Cole says there. He says obviously he's referring to Cardiff. He says, well, they've made 200 million over the past few seasons in parachute payments, but we're struggling financially. Cardiff are, because of lockdown or whatever. Whatever it may be the reason. So when you think about clubs who haven't had that, there's going to be some big clubs struggling, I think, isn't there? But there we go. And there you go. Someone else there, Johnny, says, what about clubs like Cardiff whose parachute payments have disappeared? It's never ending, isn't it? The big clubs want their own Euro League with no relegation and no no promotion, do they? They'd like it to be completely cut off. But
Well, how is that making any sense? What's the incentive in this? No promotion, no relegation, and it's just friendly game.
Yeah, it's going to be like the MLS, and clubs would be franchised, and what's the point? You know what I mean? It's not broken. Why fix it? You know what I mean? We want to be competitive. We want the best players in the world to come, and the only way that we get them is by being as competitive as we are.
There's a reason why this league and the leagues in this country are regarded the best in the world, because of how it's been and the level that it's reached. So changing it now, as you said, if it's not broken, why fix it? You can do adjustments here and there when it's needed by obviously this crisis that we're facing. Just small adjustments which can continue the flow of doing well and staying in that standards.
Spot on. Dimi, let's move on to you, mate. What I would like to know is, what is your earliest football memory, whether it's watching, playing, just what was the first time that you kind of fell in love with football?
Since I can remember myself, I was with the ball. I remember my mom, she's very proud of it. I used to, because I was the firstborn, she had a book, a memory book. She never done it with my sister because she's the second one.
It's not important to me. Yeah, not important.
But with me, she had a memory book. So she wrote when I was about 3 months old. He loves playing with the ball. He's going to become a goalkeeper when I was 3 months old. And she's been showing me ever since. Every time I see her, see, mom's instinct. And she was right.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was always with a football in my hands or my feet, and I had this bug since I could really walk.
So what we got from that then, Si, is that Dimi's mum
knows her stuff.
Dimi was her favourite. That's the first thing. She knows her stuff.
I asked her a few times for the lottery numbers, but she couldn't do it.
Dimi, that's one question I'll ask you from that follow-on is, obviously you said you'd always had a ball at your hands. You know what I mean? It was always we always had a ball at my feet. So was goalkeeping always the main focus, or did you try outfield, or did you get an opportunity to play outfield?
Yeah, obviously, when you're a kid at school, especially, you try every position. You don't know what you like, but I had a thing of diving around all the time and catching the ball. So I think that's the most suitable position for me. Not that I wasn't good outfield. I had a great header. I played a few times as a striker, and they used to call me Tony Cascarino because I could head it.
Big Tony. Like it. What about the myth or the saying that all goalkeepers are a bit nuts and a bit crazy? So do you fall into that category, Dimi?
Yeah, 100%. You have to be crazy if you dive at someone's feet with your head first. I think we lack this sense of danger sometimes. So. Yeah, not nuts, I would say. Well, a lot of goalkeepers are very sensible guys, that I've met in my career. But we certainly, bravery-wise, I think it has to be one of the bravest positions on the pitch because, you put any part of your anatomy in front of the ball, and I'm telling you, it hurts sometimes.
But on that point though, Jimmy, I know we laugh when we joke, but it's serious, though, isn't it? That the chances of getting a serious injury. You look at Peter Cech, you know what I mean? How innocuous these kind of things can be. You know what I mean? You're putting your life and your body on the line every time you go over that white line, so to speak. Yeah,
it could happen. I've had a few times in my career. I broke fingers. Got knocked out. I remember a game at Coventry, actually. I came out for a corner, someone elbowed me in the head. The referee never gave a foul. I was on the floor unconscious. I was back before all the rules about head injuries and stuff. So when I came back, the referee was having a laugh with me. He said, "Oh, it's a goal. It's 1-0." I said, "What?" "No, I'm joking. It's a goal kick."
That happened to me. That I remember playing a game for Cardiff. We played Cheltenham Town at Wadham Road, and I went up for a header. Got knocked out anyway. So I'm on the floor. I remember waking up and the referee said to me, "What's the score?" bear in mind there's a scoreboard. I didn't look at the scoreboard, and I said, I don't know. He said, well, you're winning 1-0. He said, do you remember the goal? And I said, oh, no, who scored? And I had just scored, and I couldn't remember a thing about it. And, you know what I mean? I watched the goal since, seen it on TV, and I just can't remember it. And I still, to this day, it just doesn't seem right, you know what I mean? But you get hit in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's especially the temple area, it can be really, really serious. And I don't think people who think when you're down and people are saying, get up, you're fearing an injury left, right, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's got to be a little bit of compassion, especially to goalkeepers who, especially after what happened to Peter Cech, especially, you know, I think goalkeepers do need to be protected a little bit more than they used to be a few years ago.
Dimi, while we're on this subject, I guess, so my oldest boy is like 15. I don't know why I'm saying 15.
Did you forget that?
I know he's 15. He's 16 in December. He's a goalkeeper who plays like kind of just below or around that academy level, and particularly when he was younger, he found it very difficult to manage the ups and the downs. Whereas obviously, if you're a keeper, you make a mistake, it's a goal. If you're a defender or a striker, you make a mistake, 9 times out of 10 you get away with it. Normally because of the goalkeeper. How difficult is it, particularly as when you're a young goalkeeper and you're trying to make your break in your career and really push on to become a number one, to manage those kind of ups and downs?
That's the biggest thing in this was in our position. I think it's the mental side of it. It's how you basically battle with yourself, really, off the pitch after a game, sometimes in a game, and I like our position because it's the least complicated one. As you said, you keep a clean sheet. It's a good game. You give a goal in, it's, you have to look at it. So it's pretty much black and white. But it has to do a lot of keeping the balance, I think. I found it through my career, and obviously later stages through my career, because as you gain with experience, you understand the game better, that you have to keep a balance. You don't get too excited when things are going well. You don't get too downhearted when things are not going well. You manage to keep that balance in and out of the pitch, and I think that brings consistency in your games, in your career.
You mentioned there, Dimi, about battles during the game, off the pitch, etc. Talk to me about the mental side of the game when you're not busy. So you're playing in a team who's very successful. You're attacking all the time, and so what are you doing? So what are you doing to get your composure, to mentally prepare yourself in 7, 8, 9 minutes time to be involved in the game fully?
You just have to be in the game by reading the game constantly, even if the ball is on the other side of the pitch. There's been games that I didn't have to do much. For example, the season I got promoted, there was a few games I didn't have to do much, but I came out of the game with a headache because mentally I had to be switched on for 90 minutes non-stop, just in case something happens, and I needed to act. And it is quite tricky. You can't afford to lose concentration, and if you do, the highest the level you play, the easier you can get punished. So the mental aspect of the game is very, very important to the goalkeeper, and I think coaching young goalkeepers, it's a major part of the training that coaches should focus on, train them mentally as well as physically.
Well, a good friend of mine, Tony Warner, he played at Cardiff with me. He used to play for Liverpool. He used to write things on his gloves. So before a game, he would get a different pair of gloves every game. And before a game, he would sit in the changing room and write different things on his gloves. So every time he was not busy, he would just have a little look and read and just compose himself during the game and do things like that. But it's, you know what I mean, a story. I do regret it a little bit. But I remember it was a reserve game or a pre-season game we were playing, and just before the game, I stole his gloves, took him into the toilet, and wrote left and right on his gloves. So when he was reading his gloves, just to get on his nerves a little bit, you know, I did regret it because he's an angry man as well at times. So, you know what I mean, top lad, but can get a little angry.
We all have triggers, and any sportsman, I don't think any sport would tell you that they don't have sort of superstitious rituals before games or maybe during games. I know I had mine. I know most of my teammates have theirs, and these are switches, you know, mental switches that you sort of flick before you start the game. So yeah, I can understand, Tori, 100%.
Yeah. But you wrote. I'm going to mention somebody who's Leslie just wrote a name in the chat, and I was going to mention him anyway. He's on my list now of current goalkeepers. You know what I mean? There's David De Gea, Hugo Lloris, and Jordan Pickford. You know, that 3 high-profile goalkeepers who they've made some massive errors over the last probably 6 months to a year. And do you think it's unfair the criticism they get, Dimi, because the high-profile goalkeepers and the scrutinism on them is massive nowadays?
I just. What I don't like is sometimes, because of goalkeeping is a different position, and if you haven't been a goalkeeper, you don't really know. And you shouldn't be. I don't like people commentating in games and passing judgment on goalkeepers about things that they're not really experts on. I could understand if there's a panel, there's an ex-goalkeeper or a goalkeeping coach there and says, yeah, he could do better there, or it's his fault there. But apart from that, it's like me going on a show or a column or whatever and passing judgment on a striker about how his body should be or what he could do there or this and that. I can't, because I never played that position and I'm not an expert on this position.
Well, I agree with you there. Roy Keane, famously, was Man United against Tottenham, wasn't it? And I think, I don't know who was it. Was it Ndombele who took a shot? He went straight through David De Gea's gloves, and he came on the halftime show, and he was like, I wouldn't let him get back on the bus, and he was very critical of him. And I just think it's unfair because, like you said, Tim, it's such a unique and niche position that, you know what I mean, unless you've been in that position and you see a ball coming towards you at pace, because it's not like he's just trickled underneath his legs and he's made a mistake. It was a good shot.
Look, it's a mistake. It's a mistake, okay? And I think the first one who knows the mistake is David De Gea. That's 100%. That doesn't mean that he's a poor goalkeeper. Obviously, on that level that you are, you are quite required to be more consistent and better in certain situations. But overall, it's a mistake, and we all make mistakes. It's a game based on mistakes. If no one made mistakes in a game, there wouldn't be no goals.
Yeah, totally agree.
100%.
But the mental side, you know what I mean. The other mental side that I want to ask you, and I'm quite keen to know the answer, because I can say I know the answer from my personal point of view. But when you're not playing, Dimi, how important is it to keep if you're number 2 or worse, or you know what I mean, or you are playing and you're coming out the team? How important is it to keep the mental frame of mind correct to when you do play next?
It's tough. It's got to do with the conditions of why you're not playing or the reasons. But at the end of the day, it's when you're not playing, if you're not working hard enough, you're not harming your manager or whoever you think you're blaming for you not playing. You only blame harming yourself. Because if you're not working 100% in training after that to get better, then you're not progressing. You're not putting any pressure to get better. I know a lot of people and a lot of goalkeepers probably that dwell on it and they're sulking and they go on there, which is understandable because it's hard sometimes. But if you think about it logically, all you can do is try to beat yourself and be better than you were, last week. What stayed with me all those years since I started, because my first manager when I was 17 in League One in Greece. He took me from an amateur club and put me straight in the team, training within 2 hours before every training session. And he taught me basically what I carried on throughout my career. And he said to me, look, your only measurement will be yourself, but perfect. Not your the other keeper in your team, not the other keeper playing in the top level. No one, just yourself. Picture yourself perfect without conceding any goals, and that should be your target. As long as you're working to get to that, you're becoming better and better.
Oh, and that probably coincides with what you said to me, Dimi, about 3 months ago when you said you had the drive and determination and your professionalism to be number one. You know what I mean? When you signed for Middlesbrough, that you went in there probably at number 3, number 2, and you said that you had the drive, that all the managers that you played under, that you were going to be number 1. And you know what I mean? You had that drive, determination, aspirations to go and do that, and you did it in the end. And you know what I mean? It shows just, for me, true professionalism, commitment.
If you don't believe in yourself, you're not going anywhere. If I don't believe I'm good enough to play, how am I going to persuade the manager that I'm good enough to play? So it starts from there. It all starts from there. You believing that you can do it, or you can be better, and then when you get a chance, you show you can.
Totally agree. What happens then, Dimi, if does a number 1 and a number 2 get on together? Is the fight real? Is it you against him? Do you complement each other, get on really well on and off the pitch?
Yeah, obviously it depends on personalities and stuff. Yeah. Most of my career with the other goalkeepers the relationship has been tremendous. There's been occasions that there's been the odd one that you don't get along, but you can't jeopardize his training session or try to harm his improvement or his work. You know, that's just pure nonsense. I think it harms not just him and you, but the whole team.
Yeah, you've almost got your own little mini team within a team, haven't you? With the team of goalkeepers and the goalkeeping coach, who obviously work together day in, day out in a small group. So I'd imagine that there's quite a bit of camaraderie, but also, like you say, and there is that bit of competitiveness in it because they all want the same thing.
But you push each other on, though, don't you? You push each other on. You want the best for each other. You know what I mean? And I was the same. People asked me the same question about Robert Earnshaw, that Ernie kept me out of the team for a long, long period of time, for basically a full year. And do I wish he didn't score his goals? Well, if he didn't score his goals, we would have lost games. There's no guarantee that I was going to score goals. You know what I mean? For me, it was a happy period of a group. You know what I mean? We were good as a group that year, and if a goalkeeper's keeping clean sheets, you're winning games. It's a happy changing room, happy group, happy away games, happy home games. Fans are happy. You don't want somebody to have a bad game just in case you play. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Teams are different. Good teams, especially, are different. You know that you want success and you want to win games. You know what I mean? If you start off those kind of thoughts,
competition.
Very negative.
It's competition. If we do an exercise with the goalkeeping training and drill, obviously one keeper's in, then you go in there to do your set. You want to do it better. You want to
totally agree.
And that's only healthy, I think, and that should be in every position. But apart from that, when the game starts and you're not playing, all you can do is support the one who's playing. And if they don't do well, then you might get your chance and try to show you what you can do.
I totally agree, Tim. Obviously, I want to touch on some of the clubs, Dimi, before we go into the questions, because we've got absolutely bucket loads. So I want to give the public a bit of chance to ask you some of their amazing questions. But obviously, you started in Greece. You came over to the UK. I know this is one of the questions, by the way. So how did the move to Hartlepool come around? Because it wouldn't be a natural progression moving over from Greece to Hartlepool. So tell us how that came around.
Out of nowhere. I was in Spain at the time. Mind you, I always had the bug to play in England. I was a Peter Schmeichel fan. I was watching Man United games and him playing, and I wanted to go to England. But I was at Spain. I was training with a second division team near Malaga. Lovely weather. I was in a 5-star hotel during the pre-season, and an agent gave me a call. and he said, "Look, I've got this team from England, League One, Hartlepool." I said, "Who?" Anyway, Hartlepool. I said, "I've never heard of them before." They want to have a look at you. So straight away, from getting that call, I jumped on a plane the next morning with the Spanish club looking for me to go to training. Because they came to the hotel, I wasn't there. So I jumped on a plane and never noticed anyone. I landed in the Teesside Airport. They picked me up and they put me in a B&B hotel. And I remember thinking, going from a 5-star hotel in Spain to the northeast of England in a B&B hotel, I remember sitting in the room thinking, what have you done?
Who was the manager, Dimi? Who was the manager at Hartlepool when you signed?
Neil Cooper,
and you know what? God rest his soul. Like he was an amazing fella, great manager. You know what I mean? Everybody who speaks about Neil has got nothing bad to say about the fella. You know what I mean? He's an absolute legend and hero in the area.
Was unbelievable.
You know? Yeah,
unbelievable. I remember he was the first man I talked to the training ground when my first training, and I could speak English. You know, I had my degree in English from school. I could speak perfect English. I spoke to him, and he's got a heavy Scottish accent, and I couldn't understand a single word he was saying. I was speaking words here and there, and I was just nodding. And then I walked away thinking there's something wrong with my English.
So say at Pools, Dimi, you know what I mean? You've got your Michael Barons, your Richie Humphreys, who else? Effion Williams, was Tinks there as well? You know what I mean? Graham Lee. You know what I mean? There's some absolutely excellent footballers who pass through those times and give the club some unbelievable opportunities. Obviously, the playoff final against Sheffield Wednesday, I think, at Millennium Stadium. You know, some amazing times. And how happy of a time was that in your football career?
It was brilliant. It was obviously a change of scenery for me and a new experience. But I was very lucky to be at a time at this club, at a time that the club was prospering, having that squad of players and that togetherness and that quality. It made it easier for me to blend in straight away. The lads were tremendous characters. The togetherness of the banter was unbelievable. So yeah, it just made it so easy for me to feel at home straight away.
I think the group speak for itself with the reunions they have and how close they are as friends. You know what I mean? I see them all the time. You know that quite a few of the players always speak on social media and have reunions left, right, and centre and PFA dues and things. And it's so good to see. It's so refreshing to see because it just shows the togetherness, how good of a group they were, how successful they were, and how close they were to achieving something which would have been out of this world for a town like Hartlepool.
Yeah, 100%. We're still friends together. We're friends for life. Yeah. That's the great thing about it. We still talk. We still have a chat room. But we talk every day. The banter is still the same. Same jokes go to each one of us. You know what I mean? Since so many years ago, and still the attitude between each other. Even if we don't see each other every day, it's still the same. So yeah, that's a great thing.
Which is important though, Jimmy, isn't it? You know, the team camaraderie, team, you know what I mean, ethics of a team. It just shows how important it is to be a team because, I'm not being disrespectful here, you know what I mean, to anybody, you know, but you look at the Sheffield Wednesday team on paper and the Hartlepool team on paper, you know what I mean, you were so close to achieving greatness against a team who was probably budget-wise just out of this world in comparison to what you lot were.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Shows, you know what I mean, on that day, you know what I mean, the size of the clubs, you know, just alone, they shouldn't have been on the same pitch in terms of size, but you were so close and so unlucky not to achieve greatness. And it was
8 minutes away.
I know. Well, I don't like to keep on reminding you, mate, because I know how upsetting it is to lose those kind of games, and it's heartbreaking. But obviously, you left Hartlepool, you signed for Coventry City. You spent 3 seasons there. You spent some loan spells at certain clubs before you going back to Greece. But then all of a sudden, how did a move to Middlesbrough come around?
I just finished my contract from A.C.E Athens, which was the second year there. It was a very bad experience because of the trouble that the club was in financially.
I was going to say, was that financial?
Yeah, players were unpaid for months, for 18 months. After the first year, which we had a great team and great players, all the players left. So we replaced them with very young, inexperienced players to carry that badge, really, which is pretty big increase. So I finished from there. I was back here because it was my wife's from Hartlepool during the summer, and I got a call from Middlesbrough that they were looking because Percy, the goalkeeping coach, he knew me, and they had an injury. Jason Steele got injured, and they needed another keeper really for short term. So I just straight away I thought it was very convenient for me. It's only Middlesbrough, so it's a big club. So I went in and I signed initially for 6 months until January, and that turned out 6 years.
How happy were those 6 years? Obviously, we'll look at the 2016. What happened, obviously, in a second. But you know what I mean. Running up to that, how excited were you about the prospect of getting promoted back to the Premier League and seeing the kind of players that were coming in, and obviously the managers came and went as well. So, how much of a transition were the club in when you first came?
Again, I think I was lucky enough to be at Middlesbrough at the time that was happening. And, you could see there was a real desire for the club to go back to Premier League. And the chairman was going to back this, and we got a great manager. Good players started coming in, and you could see the progression, and that was a matter of time really getting there, and that's what happened. I really enjoyed it because I got into the team, and then until we got promoted, I was in the team, and even after in the Premier League, obviously it was a bit frustrating, but then even after the next couple of years, I still enjoyed being part because I spent many years there, and they were all exciting and interesting years.
So let's talk about that season then. So 2016. So getting, the players that had Ramirez, Stuani, Stewie coming back, obviously Ben Gibson, Ayala. The Championship players. You know what I mean? They were Premier League players playing the Championship. You know what I mean? Stewie came back to do a job we've had Stewie on the show telling us all about, especially that season. How enjoyable was it every game, and obviously moving up to the final game against Brighton, which was some occasion, by the way, to watch it as a fan. But you know what I mean? Tell us about the season first and foremost. How enjoyable was the season?
It was enjoyable. And somewhat stressful as in pressure-wise, because we had the title of a favourite to go up since the start of the season, so we knew we had to live up to it, and anything less than promotion would be a failure, really. So but we were good enough mentally-wise, because we had good characters in the squad to be able to carry that on the pitch. And as you know, Championship is one of the most exciting leagues in the world and unpredictable leagues in the world. It's tough to get out of the Championship, no matter how good the team you've got. We've seen in the past many teams. It showed how mentally strong we were, because we had our ups and downs. We definitely had some downs through the season, but we managed to always not let that sequence extend. And managed to get back into winning straight away, and I think that helped us.
What was the standout games which you thought that's a pivotal moment in the season?
The work we had a run, I think, for away wins, difficult wins, near sort of Christmas, before and after Christmas, that we started thinking, Yeah, this is it. Because obviously, when you go into the second half of the season and you're still at the top, then after that you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and that gives you an extra push, really. But I think the game that showed us what we could do was the win at Brighton. They were unbeaten in about 20 odd games, and we went there and we just played them out.
Blew them away. Was that a Saturday early kickoff? Wasn't it, Saturday morning game?
Yeah, 3-0, and it was tremendous performance. From that on, I thought, we do look very, very good for promotion.
But obviously, you obviously had inside information. You seen how good the players were playing in training, in games, etc. As a fan, for me, the moment when I realised it was more of a reality than it was of a dream was when they played Bolton Wanderers away, when Jordan scored those 2 late goals to that for me was I look back and I think defining moments of a season. That game was probably dead and buried. As a fan, you're watching the game thinking, oh, what do we have to do to get promoted? It can't go through the playoffs again, and all of a sudden, and that's why they spent the money.
It wasn't just that. There was so many games that we actually won at the last minute, and that showed how mentally strong we were. There was
Adam Forshaw did one. Adam Forshaw did one.
The Reading game, there was the Hull game, the Nugent, the header, which was, they were one of the favourites as well to go out. We managed to beat them the last kick of the game. And considering we had this thing going on the backstage after the incident, leading the last 10 games, I think we handled it quite well.
I totally agree, and that brings me into the last game of the season about handling pressure, the expectation. I've never seen a ground with so much buzz as it was before the game, during the game, and obviously got off to a great start. But then obviously half-time came and players regrouped. They regrouped as well, by the way, and they came out second half, and I thought they did okay. I thought they give themselves an opportunity they needed to win to get promoted, or So talk us through the second half, Dimi, because there was a moment in the second half when you came out for a cross as well, and you caught it and you went down, and that was the moment for me that we were promoted. I know there was still a few minutes left, but how nerve-wracking was that game for you as a goalkeeper?
It is. It's basically the whole week, the build-up leading to it, because you read all day the press and all the media, the importance of the game and the 200 million game, and you can't help but some things think, please don't mess up in this game. Just but I think, after you cross the white line, I think the focus kicks on and you just see it as a game. But as you said, it was a tremendous occasion to play on. I've never played in another game such an atmosphere. And the passion, we couldn't really communicate with the lads in the pitch because of the noise. Do you know what I mean? And it's you could see how much it meant for the whole town, this game, and obviously managing to get promoted. It was like a cup final, bigger than a cup final, really.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I say I've been very lucky. I went to that game. I went to Cardiff City when they got promoted against Reading a couple of seasons ago, in the last game of the season again, and they were both exactly the same games. Both finished as a draw, both got promoted. The celebrations after is just inexplainable, because it's relief, it's joy, it's ecstasy, it's to know what's coming, the money, the teams, It's just amazing, and something that group of players, Dimi, should have been massively proud of, because I'm guessing the celebrations, which I've seen all over social media, by the way, were just absolutely ridiculous, and they carried on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and rightly so, by the way, because players deserve that release, let down, and let the hair down, and just enjoy the moment.
It was tremendous, yeah. It was for days and days after, obviously, before we all left for our holidays. It was a constant celebration, and not just for us, the whole town. You go on the streets of Middlesbrough, you'd see people on the streets just still celebrating and singing and all that, and that makes it even more special, because you see the impact that a game has in the whole town and how uplifting it is. and it was a tremendous experience, and I'm very grateful to it.
Well, I think as well being a Middlesbrough fan as well, I think 96-97 season gets talked about. First season at the Riverside, Juninho, Cup finals, but the 2016 season as well gets spoke about in the same breath because it was such an exciting season. The Aitor Karanka factor, the group of players that had, just the atmosphere in general, and the all good feeling around the area because. I speak about side, don't I, regularly, that Middlesbrough town, Middlesbrough area is rubbish without its football, rubbish without its fans, and relies on a bit of success because we're not inundated with loads of money, we're not inundated with people coming into the area in the droves.
Second worst town in the UK.
Exactly, so you know what I mean. It just gives it's brutal, isn't it? You know what I mean. Basically, that we get tired of that brush, but it's everyone rolls on about pollution. You know what I mean. But for me, the football saved the area. And when good things happen, we just need to celebrate it and enjoy it. And for me, you know what I mean. There's no better thing watching Dimi excel, and you know what I mean. And to be friends with him now, and to be able to have him on the show and speak about those happy moments is just absolutely fantastic, and he's absolutely great, Dimi. So I really appreciate what coming on and doing that. We've got loads of questions now. What we're going to finish today, haven't we? So
loads of questions to. So I just put a message up and just said, look, guys, I'll get through as many as I can in the last 10 minutes or so. But obviously some of the stuff we've covered, so if we've covered it, I'll miss it out. James Costley asked, what did Dimi think of Dave Jones, even though he was only with us for a short while?
As I said, I wouldn't say strange, just a different. He's very
Pratt.
Very easygoing and relaxed when you first speak to him. But I don't know. Someone told me he's a bit of a keeper header.
Hey, listen. You know what I mean? I've never hidden I probably should have hidden it, but I didn't hide it. I didn't hide the way that I came across and the things I said. But we've all got our opinions on people, Dimi, and Dimi could like somebody and I could not like them, and vice versa. And we all have our opinions. Football's great. Football's an opinion-based business, and it makes it fascinating.
And I'm still trying to get Dave Jones on the show as well. By the way, I'm
ready
working on
for
that
it.
weekly.
Ready.
Just trying to find that right contact to get him on, and I will. Rob Boyle says, what is Dimi's memories of his Cardiff City debut?
I still don't think the ball had crossed the line, to be fair. It was a Wolves game against Wolves. We did all right. I done all right the full game. There was a cross, and obviously I caught it, but then I dropped it, and I caught it again. So the lineup from the other side apparently saw it crossing the line. I still don't think it did, because it wasn't VAR then, it wasn't goal line technology. It was just obviously that we ended up drawing the game. It wasn't the best of debuts. But then I done all right the next couple of games. We won. It was as I said, it was a strange period, strange time for me, because I went there to play games, and all of a sudden, because I made a couple of mistakes, I just went outcasted. Not in the squad, and it was strange for me. But no, that game, we could have won the game, and we didn't. We drew.
You speak about there, Dimi, that there was no VAR. To be fair, goal line technique, they've got it wrong anyway. So
they really would have got it wrong.
It doesn't matter. Just I mean, just flick a coin now and see if it goes in or not.
Yeah.
Richie Thomas asks, what was Dimi's favourite stadium to have played at?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, it's a good question. I have to say, obviously, Wembley and the Millennium Cardiff Stadium was, have to be the top there, because of the magnitude of the grounds and the magnitude of the occasions that I played there.
Was the roof open, Dimi, at the Millennium Stadium when you played?
Yeah, it was. I think partly.
Yeah, well, I remember I watched. At the time, it was an LDV Vans game. It was Carlisle against Bristol City. My mates were playing for Carlisle at the time, and I went to watch the game. And the roof was closed, and the atmosphere was so different. You know what I mean? There wasn't as many people in, but everything was echoey. It was a warmer atmosphere. You know, obviously the roof was open when I played there. And it was a red hot day, so it's different. But you know, I just wondered if it was a different feel for with the roof shut because.
Another great stadium I played in, and it's not even a football stadium, is the New York Jets baseball team in New York. We were playing with the national team against Ecuador on a friendly, and they modified the baseball pitch to make it into a football pitch, and they put grass on top. But then you could see at some point it was raising like that.
Just for the picture.
But
the ankle breaker.
The atmosphere was really good, you know, all around.
Yeah, the stadiums are good there, and they're high. They've got a good protection on them. I really enjoy watching sports like that.
The dressing rooms are massive. The dressing rooms are like a football pitch. It was like enormous.
They're like apartments, aren't they? They're huge.
Yeah.
James says, who's the best centre-half that's played in front of you, and who relaxed your nerves the most?
Oh, great question, that.
Yeah, I have to give it to Danny and Gibbo, both of them. Not as a pair, because I knew exactly what they can do each, and they were so good together because they were complementing each other on the different skill sets that they had. And I felt safe playing behind them, and they felt safe with me playing in front of me, because we all had the understanding of what each of us can do, and we knew we could cover each other. For example, I knew if Danny goes up for a header, there's 9 out of 10 chances he's going to win it. And Gibbo knew that, and the whole team knew that. And, you know, having an atmosphere like that between your defenders and your keeper makes it working properly as a unit.
Yeah, partnerships are so important to me, aren't they? You know, like I remember, obviously when Ben left and Daniel was playing with Dale Fry, for example, and playing with somebody different. It's hard to get that partnership together when you played with somebody for so long, and you've got that uniqueness together as a pair. It's so hard to then get the same relationship with somebody else. It's so difficult. But then fans expect it straight away and all the time. And it takes time. You've got to implement something. It's going to take time, and that's for a defensive unit, a fullback and a winger, 2 centre forwards, 2 midfielders. It's the same all over the pitch.
It improves your anticipation throughout the game and how you can read the game, because if you know how good is your teammate in any situation, you can anticipate things better and read the game better, and that obviously projects through the game.
Yeah, totally agree.
Stuart Campbell says, what level would you compare the Greek Super League with the English leagues?
He's had some good questions, by the way, recently, my old man.
Banging them in, mate, lately. Back of the net every time.
I would say, look, there's a couple of teams in Greece that I think that could be, top end of the championship. Few teams, but then, you know, in that division in Greece, the gap between the good teams and the less good teams is a lot bigger than it is here in the Premier League, and you don't see many upsets very much. If you see a game between the top of the league team against someone in the bottom 3, 9 times out of 10 you know the result. So I think a few teams could compete not easy, but it could compete in the championship. Maybe 1 or 2 Olympiacos could compete in the bottom end of the Premier League.
Okay.
Because they have good players, they have the ability to bring good players and quality in.
But they proved that, Dimi, though, haven't they? They proved that. They beat Arsenal in the Europa League last year, quite comfortably as well at the Emirates, So they've proved that, and it's just about the consistency doing it week in, week out. And that's what the Premier League is, a different animal when it comes midweeks every week. It's a difficult thing, and that's sometimes where the Premier League becomes really hard, when there's the amount of games that they have and cups thrown in as well, where in different countries it's more Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It becomes difficult.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Chris Scythes asked, what made you sign for Boro?
The fact that it's
he wanted to live in the second worst place in the world to live.
I wanted the experience.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
Because first of all, because my wife's from Hartlepool. Hartlepool is 20 minutes from Middlesbrough, and obviously the fact that Middlesbrough is a big club, you know, and I knew as a club we had the potential to be all the way to the Premier League, and as soon as it came, as well as being for me convenient to commute to Middlesbrough, then it all made sense.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Boro Fan TV asked, can you tell us how you got the nickname Big Dave?
Stuart Downing. I don't know why or how. He just came in the dressing room one day and he started calling me Big Dave, that I look like Big Dave, the plumber from Hartlepool.
Stewie's mad though. Stewie just comes out with the most random things in the world.
And the thing is, it became so... I heard it so much that I started hearing the name Dave and turning around to see who it is. And an incident actually happened in a pre-season when we were in the Premier League. We were doing a hard screen test, as you do test before the pre-season. George Friend was before me. So the doctor is a doctor. He's got no idea about football, obviously. So as I walk in to go next, George says to me, "All right, Dave." So I sit on the bed, and the doctor starts going, "Turn around, Dave. Take a deep breath, Dave." And it's not too far for me to tell him that my name is not Dave, it's Dimi. So let him bring it on.
Oh,
excellent. I love that. Rob Boyle asks, growing up, who was the keeper you looked up to, based on your size? Probably not literally, though.
Definitely, my idol was Peter Schmeichel and also Edwin van der Sar. There were two keepers that I was always watching, and I could see what I could get, or technique-wise, because they're both big keepers, and in this position, there's different attributes that you have according to the size. Obviously, the bigger you are, the more things you can improve speed-wise and agility comparing to someone who's smaller. So yeah, Peter Schmeichel definitely, and then Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah, my son read Peter Schmeichel's book, and it's just incredible, which is incredible that he was interested in reading a book like that at age 13, 14, but like he's obsessed with goalkeeping, and he wants and he'll watch he doesn't watch any of my shows, but he'll watch this one, I guarantee it, which is, cheers, son.
Good lad.
Should be watching all of them and subscribing.
Too right, should be.
Gaz asks, I'm going to have to reword this because of the language used. Who is the biggest knobhead you've met in football, and why? He's got away with words.
Victor Valdez.
Oof. What, and why is that? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, of course. He's just about professional for me.
Okay.
He just, his attitude was bad. If you ask any of the lads, or even Brad Guza, was the same with me. We had great banter, but he wanted to kill him. It was a bad attitude, and it was disappointing because I was one of the keepers I was looking up to really for his career and all that, and he had this attitude of sort of being bigger than the club, really. And that wasn't very professional.
Yeah, and that's a shame, that is, because obviously, he was renowned as one of the best keepers in Europe. So, any goalkeepers around the world are going to want to work with him on a daily basis. So, I can imagine that being very disappointing. So, look, what else we got? I'm trying to just quickly scoot through these. You don't see many keepers as as pundits, Dimi. Would you fancy a go at being a pundit on a regular basis?
I think I could, but again, as I said earlier, I wouldn't be. I couldn't be very critical on positions that I don't know much about. I could generally have a comment or in the general play of a team. I could definitely comment and criticize, be critical of goalkeepers some situations. But if you're not an expert, as I said, I don't think it's it's your opinion, but it can't be a valid opinion on a subject.
I think it's difficult, Misa. That when the pundits, you know what I mean, like when someone's scoring goals, they want to talk to Michael Owen. You know what I mean? When a defender makes a mistake, they want to talk to Jamie Carragher, you know what I mean, or Micah Richards. And when a referee makes a mistake, they get the referee on. So basically, when a goalkeeper's doing well, they want a goalkeeper on. And when a goalkeeper makes mistakes, it's a difficult thing, isn't it? It's getting that brutal, fine balance, and you know what I mean. And like Jimmy just said there, you don't want to come on the show just to be negative about somebody.
I remember a game I was watching. It was Liverpool against Tottenham, and Paul Gazzaniga was playing because Lloris was injured. And Liverpool had literally battered them. And Gazzaniga's made about 7 really, really top saves. And I remember on the halftime, I think it was Gary Neville was analysing, and every time they were showing a save, he was saying, "Oh well, you expect him to make that save, or it's on him." And I was thinking, "What are you talking about? They're like 7 really, really difficult saves to make. How can you say that? Give them some credit." And that's why sometimes I get frustrated.
Yeah, keepers don't get enough credit, and I think for people who don't see maybe the work that goes into like being a top goalkeeper or being just a goalkeeper who trains several times a week, it's a lot of work, and they don't always get credit for doing not the basics but a bit above the basics very well. Like it's almost like you'll have like a striker as a pundit and he'll go, he should be making that save, and yeah, he should be making that save, but it's still a very, very good save. And I feel like sometimes keepers do not get the credit that they deserve.
But that goes with the save as well, though, Jimmy, doesn't it? That the goalkeepers when they make a save, they're expected to make it. Well, why are they expected to make it? They make the save because they've trained all week for that moment. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't say that about any other position. Like you don't say when I don't know a right back does like a really good tackle. You don't say, "Well, he should be making that tackle."
That's what I mean. It's like when you don't know about the position. What also frustrating sometimes is pundits who are not experts on this position. They tend to go for the flashy saves. For example, they see a keeper throwing his legs up in the air and tipping the ball over the bar. They say, "Oh, tremendous save." And I, from watching it, thinking, no, it's not. The ball is just above his head. He could have done it. He was standing on his feet. Instead, it makes you believe that it's a tremendous save. Well, another one that he made down low, it's much more difficult because the ball bounced in front of him. And you're saying that he should be making it. And that's what really it's frustrating when being a commentator.
I totally agree.
100%. Okay, last couple of questions then. Donna Perry says, can you play any other position other than goalkeepers? Strikers can be used in midfield. Midfielders can be used on the wing. Where could Dimi be used?
Definitely target man.
Have you ever gone up, Dimi? Have you ever gone up for a last minute corner and stuff?
Yeah, I did against Fulham, Middlesbrough. But then I had to run all the way back, and they were good.
Have you ever been close to scoring as well, though?
I had scored a goal. I had scored a goal back in Greece.
How did you celebrate?
17. I didn't know what to do. I was celebrating the All-Star. Remember that the old style of celebration where you're just jumping up in the air with your arms up. You don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was my regular celebration. That one, I didn't have a clue what to do, and I was expected to score.
Andy created that.
Yeah, that's my
celebration.
That was my FIFA celebration.
And this is the last one then. Rathman Jof says, talk about Thornaby. I have no idea what that means, so I'll leave that to you two.
It's irrelevant.
No, Thornaby is a lower division club, Northern League, which I'm playing currently, and the chairman is a friend of mine, and he asked me to, if I can help to sort of raise the club's profile a little bit, and maybe see if we can get out of this league. And I said, yeah, why not? So it's a good bunch of lads in there, and got some quality for this division, and I can see some potential there. And if I can, I told him if I can, I'll help. And I'm enjoying it because I still got the bug of diving around, even at this age. So yeah, it helps me keep fit. So it's all win-win.
Excellent.
I think that's what I was going to mention, Sal. That I'm not being disrespectful when I say this to Dimi. Is for somebody who's Dimi's age, to still be playing at the level he's playing at. That this is a level where it's men's football, but he will be playing against 17, 16-year-old players who are little whippersnappers, and it's a credit to people who still have the desire, the fitness levels, the appetite to still keep on playing, because it's not easy, it's still 90 minutes of, it's still as, I'm still guessing it's a slog at 41 than it was at 17-year-old, that it's still the same diving around, it's still a 90-minute game, 45 minutes each way, and it's just, it's enjoyable, but it's tough.
Oh, yes, and I said that was the last question, but Mr. Stuart Campbell has just sent in one more question, so we're going to let him have the last one. He says, would you have saved Andy Campbell's lob against QPR in the Millennium Stadium?
No one was saving that, by the way. Nobody.
6 for 7.
I would have had to put a little bit more on it. I would have had to put a lot more on it. Chris Day was a midget compared to you, Dimi.
I'm renowned for my positioning skills, so I think my position is better.
There we go.
I'd have took it round him.
Probably.
I'd have got a penalty, got him sent off, and then missed a penalty. So win-win.
Amazing, right? Big thank you to everyone who's tuned in and asked questions. Loads and loads of comments tonight. It's been good fun. Dimi, of course. Thank you very much for joining us, mate. Really appreciate your honesty and your time. It's been really interesting to chat to you. And of course, Mr. Campbell, thank you as ever. I'd also like to say a quick thank you to all the new subscribers over the weekend. Right over 900 on YouTube now, as we're itching towards 1,000. So it'd be nice if we could get up to that 1,000 mark, which was one of the long-term goals when we started the channel. Big thank you to Black Diamond Sports and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show, of course. And if you have time, check out episode 1 of Mental Health in Sport Series 2, which dropped yesterday on the channel with Keith Gillespie, ex-Manchester United and Newcastle winger. Next Sunday, 8 o'clock, episode 2, with none other than ex-Cardiff City striker, Mr. Andy Campbell, is dropping Sunday, 8 o'clock. So check that out. It's going to be an interesting show, and obviously a very, very important subject. The feedback's been amazing. Thank you for all the messages. And lastly, to finish us off, Geraint Cole says, any chance of a triple Ayatollah to finish us off?
Let's go for it.
Here we go.
There we go.
Screenshot that.
There's my screenshot, that one. That's my screenshot.
Yes, indeed. Again, thank you to everyone. Jimmy, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, guys. It's been amazing. Jimmy, thanks for your time, mate. It's been a cracking show. Really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it, lads. Very good to be here.
Top man.
Thanks, mate.
And we'll be back Friday, 7 o'clock for the Championship show. Join us.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.